Lyra had never seen a human before. She had only heard stories, dangerous, wild, and violent creatures. Smart, but without mercy. That's what the galaxy believed about them. That's what the Union taught in school. She stood outside the thick glass wall. On the other side sat the prisoner, the only living human ever captured. He didn't move, he didn't speak. He just looked at her, calm and silent. Lyra's heart beat faster. She was not a soldier. She was a young researcher from the planet Xylon. This was her first assignment on the research station. She had expected a beast, but this man, he was not what she imagined. He looked normal, too normal. Short brown hair, calm gray eyes. His hands were tied, but he sat like he didn't care. Like he was waiting for something. Lyra opened her data tablet and began recording. Subject: 7-3-1. Human male, appears physically healthy, she said quietly. No signs of stress or fear. Still, he didn't move. Did he even understand her language? Was he ignoring her? Or was he just studying her back? Why are you here? She asked. He looked at her. Finally, his voice was soft but strong. Are you asking me? He said slowly. Or are you asking yourself? His words made her pause. He spoke her language perfectly. But how? He had never left the cell. He had never been taught. How do you know my language? She asked, trying to stay calm. The man smiled a little. You'd be surprised what humans can do when they're quiet. That answer didn't help. It made things worse. What did he mean? What was he planning? Lyra looked at him carefully. His heart rate was normal. His body showed no signs of stress. He was too calm. You're not scared? She said, more to herself than to him. He tilted his head. Should I be? Lyra didn't answer. She ended the recording and turned to leave. Before the door closed behind her, she heard his voice again, low and steady. You should be more afraid of what's coming. That sentence stayed in her mind like a shadow. She didn't sleep well that night. His eyes kept appearing in her dreams. Not angry, not sad, just calm. Too calm for a prisoner. The next morning, she returned to the lab. Her team was already there. Everyone looked serious. Power spike. Last night, one officer said, system restart took 2 minutes. Lyra frowned. That had never happened before. Where is the prisoner? She asked. Silence. No one answered. She rushed to the observation room. The cell was empty. The restraints were open. No sign of damage, no forced entry, no sound. She checked the security footage, only static. Every camera between 0200 and 0220 was dead. All files were corrupted. The system had no explanation. How is this possible? She whispered. A guard came running. 2 men found unconscious in corridor 7. He said, no injuries, no weapon used. Lyra stared at the screen. A human had escaped a high-security alien base without breaking anything. Without making noise, she rushed back to her lab. Everything was untouched except her tablet. There was a message on it, typed in her language. You wanted to understand humans, now you will. Her hands shook. Was this a threat? A warning? Or a lesson? Suddenly, another alert flashed on her screen. A ship was missing from the hangar, a small scout-class vessel, fast and quiet. It had launched at 0221, 1 minute after the cameras returned. Lyra opened the flight log. Only one word was entered under destination. Her eyes went wide when she read it. It was her home planet. She dropped the tablet and stared at the window. Stars shined like cold fire in the black space beyond. Somewhere out there, a human was free. Heading to a world that trusted her. What did he want? Why did he choose her planet? And how did he escape without anyone seeing him? The galaxy believed humans were extinct. But now, Lyra knew the truth. They were alive and they were planning something. Something no one was ready for. Asterisk, the camera. saw nothing, the guards heard nothing, and yet the human was gone. Inside a control room. Alarms flashed red. Alien officers ran through the corridors, confused and scared, sealed the station. Someone shouted, "Lock all exits," but it was too late. Lyra stood frozen in front of the empty cell. Her heart beat faster than it ever had. There was no sign of struggle, no broken walls, no hacked systems. It was like the human had simply vanished. "Check the logs," she ordered. An officer replied, "They were wiped." "What do you mean wiped?" she asked. "Deleted, cleanly, professionally," he said. "Even our backups are gone." Lyra stared at the empty chair where the human once sat. He was tied down yesterday. Now, it vanished without breaking a single thing. Impossible. But it happened. 2 guards were found unconscious in Corridor 7. No wounds, no blood. Their minds couldn't even remember what happened. One of them kept repeating. "He looked into me, over and over again. What does that mean?" Lyra whispered. No one had answers. Not even the AI assistant that ran the base. She walked back to her lab in silence. Everything was where she left it, except one thing. Her tablet. She picked it up slowly. The screen was on. A single sentence was displayed. "You wanted to understand humans, now you will." Her hands shook. She dropped the tablet on the table. Who was this man? How did he know so much? And why did he choose her? A voice crackled in the comms. "Doc 4, one scout ship is missing." Lyra's heart skipped. "Launch time, 0221, the voice said. Just 1 minute after the station's power came back, she ran to the hangar control room, one of the pilots. Brought up the launch data. "It's clean," he said, confused. The codes used were real, valid, official. But they weren't used by us. The launch logs showed something strange. The ship's destination was listed as Xylon 5. Her planet, her home. She stepped back. Why would he go there? What did he want from her people? From her? The base commander called a meeting. 10 officers sat in silence around the glowing table. Lyra stood before them, trying to speak clearly. This human. "He's not what we were told," she began. "He didn't use force. He didn't break anything. He used knowledge, patience, maybe even our own fear." The commander frowned. "Are you saying he's not dangerous?" "I'm saying," Lyra replied, "he's more dangerous than we thought, outside." Stars moved slowly across the black sky, somewhere in that cold silence. A human was flying a stolen ship toward her world, alone and smiling back in her. Lab Lyra opened a secret file, a forbidden one taught only in old stories. The ancient legends of the Fire People, humans. According to myth, they could walk through war without a weapon, defeat armies with only their voice, and disappear like smoke. It was fantasy, wasn't it? Lyra zoomed in on an image recovered from an old alien ruin. It showed a humanoid figure standing among fallen enemies. His hands were empty, his eyes glowed white. The words below read, "He who knows himself cannot be controlled." A chill passed through her body. Was it just a story? Or was it history? Suddenly, her screen beeped. A new transmission was received. No sender, no signal source. Okay. Just one video file. She clicked it. The screen lit up with the face of the escaped human. He stood in the stolen ship, smiling calmly. His voice was quiet, steady. "You study us like animals," he said. "But you forgot something important. You cannot understand humans without becoming one." The screen went black. Lyra sat in silence. That message wasn't just for her. It was a challenge, maybe even a warning. She looked at the map. The human ship would reach her planet in less than 18 hours. Her world had no idea what was coming. Not a war, not an invasion, but something stranger. A man, alone, carrying the forgotten truth of a species the galaxy tried to erase. The escape was not the end. it was only the beginning. Asterisk, the stars blurred past her window as Lyra's ship jumped into hyperspace. Her hands gripped the flight controls tighter than before. Behind her, the base was still searching for answers. But she didn't have time for answers. She needed truth. The human was heading straight for Xylon 5, her planet, her home. But why? It made no sense. Xylon 5 wasn't important. No war fleets, no rare minerals, no ancient tech. Just forests, rivers, peaceful cities, and culture. Yet that's where he was going. The question haunted her. Why would a lone human, after escaping a high-security prison, risk everything to go there? She opened the human's file again. Name, unknown origin. Earth captured during a failed stealth operation over the frozen moon of Varix. But the more she read, the less it made sense. His vitals were stronger than a normal human, his mind showed. Signs of mental discipline she had never seen before. He had no fear, only purpose. The stars slowed as her ship dropped out of hyperspace. Xylon 5 hung before her like a blue gem in the dark. She stared at it through the glass, so beautiful, so calm, and yet something cold moved in her chest. She didn't land in the capital. She went to the outer forests, where few people lived. The last known coordinates of the stolen human ship came from there. As she flew low through the trees, her scanner beeped. Life forms detected multiple, not just animals, humanoids, but not Xylonian. She landed her ship and stepped out. The forest was silent. No wind, no birds, just silence. She walked slowly, her boots crunching over soft leaves. Then she saw them, figures in the shadows. One stepped forward. Another human, not the one she met on the station. This one was taller, with silver hair, and a calm smile. "You came," he said. Lyra froze. "How do you know me?" she asked. The man didn't answer. Behind him, more humans appeared. 10, maybe 15. All silent, all watching. Then she saw him, the escaped prisoner, walking calmly toward her, like he was out for a morning stroll. "I told you," he said softly. "You wanted to understand." Lyra took a shaky breath. "You planned this." He nodded. "Everything." Her mind raced. "You let us catch you." He didn't deny it. "You let us put you in prison." Still no denial. "Why?" she demanded. "What are you trying to do?" He looked up at the sky, then back at her. "To show you what's coming." She felt a wave of confusion. He wasn't angry. He wasn't violent. He was patient, but his eyes still held that same dangerous, calm. Lyra pointed at the others. "Who are they?" "Survivors," he said, "from Earth." "I thought Earth was destroyed," she said. He nodded. "That's what we wanted the galaxy to believe." Lyra stepped back. "You faked your extinction." "Yes," he said, "because we saw what was coming." "What do you mean?" she asked. But before he answered, he raised his hand. A hologram appeared in the air, a black, shifting shape full of moving shadows. It looked alive, but not like any creature she had ever seen. "This," he said, "is what your people woke up 2 years ago." Lyra's eyes widened. "That's from under the southern mines." "Yes," the human said. "And it's not the only one you knew." She whispered. "We've known for centuries," he replied. "That's why we left." Earth was never the enemy. Lyra couldn't speak. Everything she believed was breaking apart. "You're not here to fight us," she said slowly. "No," he said. "I'm here to help you fight what's coming." She looked around. These humans weren't soldiers. They were quiet, focused, trained, like ghosts from a forgotten war. "Why me?" she asked. The human stepped closer. "Because you listened," he said. "And because your people are next." A low rumble came from the ground. The trees shook slightly. Birds flew into the sky in panic. The ground beneath her boots felt strange, like something old had just turned over. "What was that?" she asked, alarmed. The human didn't look surprised. "It's waking up," he said. Faster than we hoped, Lyra stared at the forest around her. Her peaceful world was changing, and the only ones who understood it were the ones she was taught to fear. She looked at the human again, not as a prisoner, not as a myth, but as someone who knew the future. "What do we do now?" she asked quietly. The human smiled. "Now," he said, "we prepare long ago, the galaxy held its breath. Earth had vanished from all maps. No signals, no ships, no survivors. It became a ghost, and the galaxy moved on. Grateful and a little relieved, but the truth didn't vanish. It hid in silence, in shadows. And now it was waking up again. Lyra sat by a fire deep in the forest of Xylon 5. The stars blinked cold above her. Across from her sat the human. No name, no rank, no weapon, only answers. "You were never extinct," she said softly. It wasn't a question. The man nodded once. "No, we just became invisible." More humans sat around them, silent, listening. Some looked young, others older, but all of them shared the same eyes. Sharp, alert, calm. Lyra still couldn't believe it. Earth had faked its own death. They said Earth was destroyed in a civil war. She whispered. The man smiled slightly. "Some of that was true," he said. "But we ended it. We disappeared before they could come for us." "Why?" she asked. "Why hide?" He stared into the fire. "Because we found something buried." His voice dropped lower. His tone turned colder. "Deep beneath the oceans of Earth," he continued, "there was something older than us. Not alien, not machine. Something. Alive, but wrong." Lyra leaned forward. "You're talking about the shadow creature you showed me." The man nodded. "We call them the deep things," he said. "They sleep in planets, they feed on energy, and when they rise, they take minds first." Lyra felt her skin crawl. "But why didn't you tell the galaxy?" "We tried," he said. They laughed. "Then we watched one of their colonies fall overnight. No survivors, no explanation. So you left," she said. "Yes, we went dark, erased our data, crashed our satellites, let the galaxy believe we were gone." He picked up a stone and tossed it into the fire. "We trained in secret," he said. "Built ships underground. Learned to fight without being seen, because we knew one day someone would wake them again." Lyra looked up at the stars. Xylon 5 was not ready for war. Not against something like that. Not against something that could think without form. "What do they want?" she asked. The human shook his head slowly. "They don't want, they consume." Silence fell again, just the fire crackling between them. Then Lyra asked the question no one dared to speak. "Why are you helping us?" The man's eyes met hers, and for the first time, there was pain in them. "Because we started it," he said quietly. "We were the first to dig too deep, and we refused to let others die for our mistake." From a small metal case, he pulled out a black cube. It floated in the air and glowed softly. "This is Earth's last memory vault," he said. "It contains history the galaxy never saw. Records, maps, warnings, proof." Lyra reached toward it, but the human stopped her. "Only someone who trusts will understand it," he said. "Are you ready for that?" She hesitated, then nodded. Slowly, she touched the cube. Her eyes flashed white for a second, and then she saw it. Images filled her mind. Cities falling into the sea, sky filled with black smoke, machines turning on their creators, but not because of war, because something told them to. Then she saw Earth's last fleet leaving, not in defeat, but in silence, carrying with them the truth and the burden. She gasped and pulled her hand back. The cube dimmed. Tears filled her eyes. Not from fear, but from understanding. "You didn't run," she said. "You prepared." The human nodded. "For generations." he said. But we're still not enough. He stood, the firelight casting sharp lines across his face. We need allies, not armies, but minds, people who can. See beyond fear. Lyra stood too. The night felt colder. He turned to her. You're the first, he said. The first to listen. The first to believe. Suddenly, a loud pulse echoed through the forest. A blue light shot into the sky from miles away. The human's calm face changed. They've begun, he whispered. Lyra stared at the light. What is it? A hive awakening, he said. They're calling others, and now the real war begins. It began with a whisper, not a sound, but a feeling. Lyra woke in the middle of the night, sweating. The stars outside her window had never looked so quiet, too quiet. She walked out of the human camp. The fire was low. The others were asleep, all except him, the one without a name. The one they all listened to. He stood on a hill, staring at the blue beacon in the sky, the hive light still pulsing, still calling. Lyra stood beside him. Neither spoke for a while. Then he said something that chilled her more than any dream. They're listening now. She turned to him. Who? The deep things, he said. They hear fear like a song. Lyra shivered. How long before they come? The human didn't answer right away. Instead, he looked at her and asked, Are your people ready? She hesitated. No, she admitted. They don't even believe in this yet. He nodded, as if he expected that answer. Then don't warn them, he said calmly. Train them. But I don't even know how to fight them, she said. That's why you'll learn, he replied, and you'll teach others. Lyra was silent. She wasn't a warrior. She was a researcher, a scholar. She had spent her life reading history, not writing it. You think I can prepare an entire planet? She asked. I think you're the only one who's seen both sides, he said. And that makes you dangerous in the right way. Lyra looked down at her hands. They didn't feel like weapons. They felt small, weak, but then she remembered. The cube, the memory vault, the visions, and she knew one thing for sure. If the deep things reached her people unprepared, Xylon 5 would fall in days. Back at the human camp, something had changed. The others were awake now, not alarmed, but alert. As if something had spoken to them in their sleep, one of them, a woman with pale eyes and a scar across her cheek, approached Lyra. You want to survive? She asked. Yes, Lyra said without thinking. Then, follow me. The next day was not normal. There was no sitting, no planning, only doing. Lyra was thrown into human training, not weapons, not strength, but control. Fear is your enemy. The scarred woman said, It speaks louder than words. If you can't control your thoughts, they'll hear you before they see you. Lyra learned to silence her mind, to feel the ground, to sense movement without looking, to notice what others missed. Days passed like moments. Each night, more beacon lights appeared across the sky. Hives were waking up on other planets. Some near, some far. But they were waking. Lyra sent a message to her government. A warning, simple and direct. They're coming, but the reply was even simpler. Return home. No belief, no action, just politics. She showed the humans the message. The nameless man read it and gave a tired smile. That's how it always starts. He said, denial, delay, disaster. Lyra's eyes burned with frustration. They won't listen. They never do, he said. Until it's too late, he handed her a device, a small black disc with a silver switch. What is it? She asked. A memory pulse. He said, drop it in your capital. It'll show your people the truth. The same way the cube showed you. She stared at the disc. It was so small, too small to hold so much truth. You really think it'll work? She asked. No, he said honestly, but it's better than begging. Later that night, As she prepared to leave, he walked beside her ship. "One more thing," he said. Lyra looked up. "Do not let them send an army," he warned. "Why?" "Not because armies make noise," he said, "and the deep things love noise." She stared into his eyes. They weren't full of fire or pride. They were tired, heavy with history. "You're trying to save us," she whispered. He gave the faintest smile. "We're trying not to make the same mistake twice." Her ship lifted slowly into the air. Below her, the humans faded into the forest like ghosts, like myths, like warnings written in the sky. She flew toward her home with one thought in her mind. They were not ready, but they had to be, because something ancient had opened its eyes. And it was hungry asterisk. It started with a silence. The kind of silence that meant something had already gone wrong. Not a sound from orbit, not a word from Colony 19. Only a black screen and a missing world. Lyra stood before the High Council of Xylon 5. Behind her, a small memory disk hummed with energy. They didn't believe her. Not yet, but they would. She placed the disk on the table and activated it. Light filled the chamber. Images, sounds, screams, visions from Earth's hidden war. The council gasped. One elder stood in shock. Another fell to his knees. The illusions faded, and silence returned, but not the peaceful kind. This time, it was heavy, sharp, real. Lyra stepped forward. "You saw what I saw," she said. "There. Waking up, they're already spreading, and we are not ready." One counselor stood. His voice was steady but cold. "And you suggest we trust the humans? They hid for centuries. They disappeared. They let us believe they were gone." Lyra's voice rose. "They didn't disappear to escape. They disappeared to prepare. And now, they're offering to help another." Counselor slammed his fist on the table. "They are dangerous. They are unpredictable. They are the only ones who fought the deep things and survived." Lyra said sharply, "Can you say the same?" The chamber fell silent again. This time, not from pride, but from fear. Real, cold fear. Later in the shadows of the city, Lyra met with resistance leaders. Young minds, brave souls. She showed them what the council had seen, and unlike the elders, they didn't look away. "If we wait for permission, we'll be dead," one of them said. "So we don't wait." Lyra replied, "We move within days." Secret landing zones were activated. Human scouts arrived in silence. No flags. No announcements. Only action. They talk quietly. No large gatherings. No bright uniforms. Only control, discipline, and the power of the mind. Lyra trained with them. Her breath controlled. Her movements sharp. She was no longer a scholar. She was becoming something else. One night, as they gathered near an ancient temple, a hologram appeared above the stone floor. 3 other alien worlds, flickering red, marked as lost. "They've taken the cores," the human commander said. 3 planets in 6 days. "No survivors." Someone in the room asked, "What about the Union fleet?" The commander shook his head. "Dead, infected, or worse." Lyra stepped forward. "There has to be something we can still do." "There is," he replied, "but it won't be loud." He activated a small map. Tiny lights blinked across the stars. Not ships, not satellites. People, all hidden, all human. "These are Earth's ghost colonies," he said. "Quiet, unregistered, off-grid. And they're full of soldiers born for this." Lyra stared at the map. "You kept an army in the dark." He nodded. "Because we knew the day would come, and that day is now." Across the planet, small teams formed. Aliens and humans training side by side. Not in weapons, but in will. The deep things couldn't be beaten by firepower. They fed on emotion. Fear made them stronger. Noise made them faster, and panic gave them a path. So Lyra and her new allies learned to move like shadows, to fight with silence, to lead without showing fear. Messages spread across the galaxy, not from governments, but from people, whispers. In marketplaces, warnings on old channels, and slowly, one by one, other worlds started listening. A silent alliance was born, not from treaties, but from truth, because now the galaxy had no choice. The enemy wasn't coming. It was already here, and the only ones who had survived it before were humans in a small chamber beneath the ground. Lyra watched a final message from Earth's hidden archives, a video, grainy but clear. A woman stood before a burning sky. Behind her, Earth's last city fell into the sea. She looked into the camera and said, "If you're watching this, we failed to stop them, but we found a way to survive. Not with weapons, with memory, with silence, with each other." The screen went dark. Lyra closed her eyes. The time for history was over. Now came the time for resistance. It didn't begin with war. It began with forgetting. One by one, people lost their memories. Entire cities woke up with empty minds. No names, no past, only fear. The deep things had arrived. Not with fire, but with silence. Lyra stood at the edge of the ruined city. Wind howled through broken towers. Her home didn't look like home anymore. It looked like a shadow, a memory half-erased. Beside her stood the nameless human. His face was calm, but his eyes were tired. "They're faster now," he said. "They're learning." She looked at him. Then, "We're too late." He shook his head. "Not yet. Not if we use the last trick," she frowned. "You said you had one final weapon." "I do," he said, "but it's not a bomb. It's not a ship, it's a story." Lyra blinked. "A story." The man nodded. "The deep things feed on fear, on chaos, on doubt. But there's one thing they can't digest: hope." She stared at him. "That's your final weapon." He smiled faintly. "No," he said, "you are across the galaxy on a dozen hidden channels." The message was sent, a single voice telling the truth. Not just about the enemy, but about the humans who vanished, who waited, who watched, who remembered. Lyra's voice echoed across star systems. "We were told humanity died," she said. "But they didn't die. They learned, they survived in silence. And now, they've returned, not to rule, but to remind us who we are on infected worlds." Something strange happened. People began remembering, not everything, just enough. Their names, their families, their courage. And with each memory, the deep things weakened, screamed, cracked. Lyra led the first team into the heart of the hive. No weapons, only shields and silence. The humans moved like ghosts. The aliens followed with steady minds. What they saw beneath the surface was not a monster. It was a storm of minds. Voices twisted together, crying, whispering, begging. Lyra stepped into the storm and closed her eyes. She remembered her childhood, the sound of her mother's voice. The stars above her village. She held onto those memories like armor. The shadows reached for her, but they slid away, burned by her calm. The nameless human followed. His presence felt like gravity. The deep things pulled at him, tried to break into his mind, but he smiled and whispered one word: home. The hive shattered. Light exploded from its core. Not fire, not energy, memory. It poured through the tunnels. Woke up the minds that had gone dark. Lyra fell to her knees, but she was smiling. So was he. They had done it. Not by fighting harder, but by remembering who they were. Across the stars, the beacons went dark. One by one, the hives fell silent. The war was over, not with weapons, but with will. Later, Lyra stood on a quiet hill. The humans stood beside her. She looked at him. "You never told me your name." He smiled. "I don't need one," he said. "Names are for the ones who stay." She looked at the stars. So many lights, so many lives, all still standing. "You're leaving?" she asked. He nodded. "Others need to learn," he said, other planets, other voices. She stepped closer. Will we see you again? He paused. If you remember me, he said, I never left. Then he walked into the mist and vanished like a shadow turning into light. Years passed and the story spread. Of the girl who listened and the humans who returned, they were no longer myths. They were no longer feared. They were guardians in silence, weapons in memory, and protectors of the stars, because when fear rose again, the galaxy knew what to do. It remembered. It stood still, and it waited for them. The ones who watched, the ones who warned, the humans